Meeting Greg, some stories about Greg, and then we'll get on to the wrestling. But the first time you met Greg,
Well, the first time I met him, he was a quarterback, and he was smaller than me. We were both about the same size, but I think I weighed 185 or 190, and he weighed about 160, 165 pounds. But he was a great athlete in high school, and he was football, basketball, and baseball player, and he was a good quarterback. The only problem is that a quarterback who played for the University of Minnesota under Murray Warmath had to be about 220 pounds and be able to run the ball, you know, at least two plays out of a series, because Murray Warmath believed in field position and ball control, and he didn't like to throw a pass worth being. So Greg realized that the fact he was getting the crap beat out of him, and they switched him to safety, and then he'd have to come up, in practice and hit Jimmy Carter, who weighed 235 pounds. It wasn't, after his sophomore year, says, "Hey, I'm going to transfer to Wyoming and see if he can play." And he did wind up playing there in a few games, so it was good for him.
so what did he tell you about wrestling when you were both doing American football? And did he ever try and recruit you before you ended up going?
No. Like I said, he invited me out to his house, and I saw what a great life Vern had. I mean, oh, geez, his house was beautiful. He had a beautiful basement office, and he had a little waterfalls in there. And he was, it was just a gorgeous house. And, he probably had 1,000 feet of shoreline. And I remember for a fact that Greg told me that for real estate tax on that house, he paid $110,000 a year to live on the lake. That's just what the tax was.
But you thought, well, if it all worked out, that could be the life for you as well. Massive house on the
Well,
lake.
maybe just 25 feet of shoreline instead of 1,000.
What did you make of Greg then as a tag team partner? Actually, more specifically, when you were told you were going to be teaming up with Greg, were you happy because you knew the guy and you could work together essentially? Or were you a bit like, it's the boss's son, I'm a single young man on the road getting up to no good? Where was the sort of good and bad of working with Greg in that aspect?
You know what? We were a great team, and I think what made us so efficient in the ring was the talent that we had to work with. I mean, the AWA had unbelievable talent. I mean, they had Bockwinkel, Heenan, Bobby Duncombe, Jack Lanza, Don Morocco, Ray Stevens, Pat Patterson, and Bobby Heenan, to me, throughout my career, I recognized as the greatest overall talent, bar none. I mean, he could do anything. He could talk. He was incredible in the ring. And just a wonderful guy and perfect in the ring. His timing was meticulous, and same with Bockwinkel. And so the fact that I got to learn with this great talent, was just a jumpstart for me in my career.
How do you rate Greg then as a wrestler? Because I think in the last decade or so, there's been a real appraisal of how good Greg was as a professional wrestler, whereas at the time I think people couldn't get past that he was a lot thinner than everybody else on the roster.
Well, James, the hardest thing about Greg was that he was the son of the great Vern Gagne. So that's awful hard to follow. His dad was a national champion in college and was almost an All-American in football, and then he had an unbelievable professional wrestling career. And a lot of the promoters in the various territories were jealous of hell of him. And consequently, Greg was insulated in his career because he couldn't go anyplace. Because some guys, he'd be fighting every night, which he would fight. He's a tough guy. And I felt sorry for Greg because he didn't have an opportunity to experience what it was like going, and actually living the real life of a professional wrestler during the territory time. When that 30 year, 20 years of territories.